big shout out to you for making it through the hectic holiday season. This new year, get clean, quality, pregnancy nutrient support off your to-do list, including Ritual's best-selling Essential Prenatal Multivitamin, designed with 12 traceable key ingredients to support a healthy pregnancy. With big changes coming up, take the small steps now and start today with 30% off a 3-month supply at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. But for those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Hack news. Hack news.
Radio.
Hack news. Hack news.
Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
And good evening. Welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network.
As opposed to dead.
Or as opposed to pre-recorded, but either one.
No, we're not. We're actually live. I'm live. Don't know for how long, but I'm live.
That's a live.
That's true.
That's a live. It's April 5th.
Yes, 4 days past April Fools.
Yeah, speaking of fools, Sean's not here.
Oh, darn. I noticed the conspicuously absent chair.
Yeah.
Again. All right, you must know what's happening.
So for those of you that are kind of late to the party and haven't really been around too much the last few weeks, Sean has a background in interpretive dance, specifically with a background in ballet.
Right.
And he's recently rediscovered it. So he's actually, if you recall, a couple weeks ago, he pulled his groin.
Yes. Oh, that part. I remember that.
Both in the traditional and the dirty sense of the word.
Right.
And so he missed an episode then, and now he has another gig, I guess, so to speak, in Las Vegas, Nevada, which is kind of weird.
Oh, wow!
Right? Because now you have Sean. He's not real forthcoming on what he's doing, like what he's up to. He's more secretive with his phone. He doesn't really let us know anymore, like who he's talking to. He kind of giggles in the corner. Really kind of odd behavior. Last time he came back from a dancing gig, quote unquote, he had glitter on his face, if you recall. And so now he's in Vegas for a dancing gig.
We
Right.
know what happens in Vegas.
Right. And so I don't know what this dancing gig is. I don't know if Sean's doing private parties. I don't know if he's doing like
industrial table dances,
champagne bubble baths is what I was going to say.
Ooh, and milk bubble baths,
and milk bubble baths. So I don't know what's going on. And what's weird is we asked to see if you recall, because we're excited, we're supportive of each other.
Yes, I like to see him improve professionally. Whatever he puts his mind on, that's fine with me.
Absolutely. And Sean is one of those where if you missed the show before, he's not a Rockette, Mary, but he actually moves like Rerun from what's happening, and we've referenced that before. And if you don't know who that is, just do a YouTube for Rerun dance, and you'll see exactly what it is we're talking about. Fred Berry played that character, and that looks like Sean. So, but now he's going to Vegas doing this, and I know there's no new shows in Vegas.
See, here's the thing.
Right?
There's a story there. And because, and the other thing is, okay, we know there's a story. It's Las Vegas, and I'm a little shocked because you and he have been, together for much longer than I've been around in this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm a little disappointed that he didn't tell you, one of his very good friends, what's going on. So that tells me there's a story.
Right. And all he said is, I'm dancing in Vegas on Wednesday. Don't worry about it.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, with that qualifier, yeah, I'm concerned.
Right. And the thing is, he's going to Vegas for like a week, and all he had was a clutch, like a little
right.
one strap purse.
Right.
So all he has in there is like a licorice thong and a razor.
Wow. That gives me a really vivid mental picture right now. And luckily, I'll not describe it on the air. But I do have that photograph in here.
Yes.
Luckily, it's only in my mind, and I'm not looking at it right now because some things once seen cannot be unseen.
But you're drawing it.
Yes.
Now Sean's not here to celebrate, and so in his honor, I do have to mention that baseball season officially started
today.
No, over the week, Sunday.
Oh, okay.
And so we are very excited. Sean and I always get very excited when baseball season comes up. We usually talk a little bit of baseball, maybe at the very beginning of the show.
Boys of summer. I'll admit it. I know very little about baseball. But with my inclination towards certain liquids, I can tell you that my favorite team is the Milwaukee Brewers. For obvious reasons.
Right, because you like people from Milwaukee. Or you drink...
Yes, that's it!
Or you drink Old Milwaukee, which I think is akin to horse piss, but
yes.
I'm not 100%
yes.
sure.
I was going to go with cat piss, but horse piss, that'll work too.
Okay.
It's like drinking Lone Star beer. Anybody listening from Texas, a real Texan, does not drink Lone Star beer.
Unless you're alone and just so drunk already that it really doesn't matter at that point.
Right. You fall off the ladder behind your horse.
Right, in which case...
Don't think I haven't gone to one of those calls either. You're laughing at me. I have.
I'm laughing at you because
Yeah, I know why.
Yeah. And for those of you listening, no, it's not because I was the one that fell off.
No. But would it shock you, Clint, to know that it was in Rio Linda?
No.
No.
Because of course, right? Where else would that happen?
Around here, no place else.
Del Paso Heights.
No, not at all.
That's going to be a 40 of Mickey's is going to be broken up.
Yeah, that's sort of inside Sacramento, but that's all right. We got to laugh out of it anyway.
Very, very cool. Very cool. So how have you been, sir? Anything new with the week? How's the show going?
The show's doing really well. I had a lengthy show last night. Sometimes I end up going into a little bit of overtime. Last night I did that.
At Ritual, we know what goes into a magical holiday season. The potluck planning, the gift giving, the spreadsheets. This new year, take a moment for yourself with simple, daily rituals that help you put your foundational health at the top of your to-do list. Ritual's Essential for Women 18 Plus multivitamin is a clinically backed multivitamin featuring 9 high-quality key essential ingredients to help you fill key nutrient gaps in your diet. Or maybe you're stressing your daily protein intake, or you want to double down on support for your gut microbiome. From plant-based essential protein to 3-in-1 pre, pro, and postbiotic strains with Symbiotic Plus, Ritual helps you focus on supporting your body after a long season of juggling everybody else. And for a limited time, do it with 30% off a 3-month supply at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Very well.
Yes. That's why I always want to go into overtime, because then for me it's time and a half on my shameless contract, which was negotiated between me and you two as well. Not two, please. Don't mistake the two. Not two, but you two.
Right.
Other than that, have been having a good time. I'm supposed to get snow at my cabin, my house, over the weekend.
Really?
So even in Fornicalia,
Even in full what?
in Fornicalia,
Okay.
even here in April 4th, we're still going to get rain. We're still getting snow. The snowpack is 183% of normal.
Today's the 5th.
So what do you think California's going to do with all that water?
Here's what we're going to do. We are going to flush the deltas and dump millions of gallons of water to flush the salt water out of the delta to save a frickin' fish that's not even indigenous to the damn region, because the frickin' environmentalists don't want new water projects in this state.
That's right.
And they want that frickin' fish.
The Delta smelt is a bait fish. At last count in 2014, there were six. Six of them actually counted. Six.
And, folks, California is in a drought because our politicians created this problem. We're in a drought because we can't build new water projects because of the frickin' environmentalists, and we have to waste the water to flush the Delta. Literally. It was like 3-point-something billion gallons.
No. It was about it was about 17 trillion with a T.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Trillion gallons shipped out purposely through the Delta in order to attempt to keep the literally 6 remaining at their count. That was the official state of California count.
Yeah.
To keep those Delta smelt alive. Insanity.
Yes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is California in a nutshell.
It is, absolutely.
And let me take California in a nutshell also, but did we talk last week about the transportation thing? Jerry Brown and the Democrats are now, we're going to fix our roads, fix our infrastructure.
Well,
we have to fix our roads, which means they're going to tax the shit out of us again.
Well, yes, exactly. Because the last story I saw about that they were considering for those purposes a 42% increase in the gas tax. The state of California already pays the highest gas tax in the nation. They want to tag on another 42 percentile to that. Plus, they want a 117% increase in vehicle registration fees in order to generate monies for infrastructure, for roadways, bridges, etc.
And for those of you that don't know, California already has, I think it's the highest registration rate in the nation. If you have a commercial vehicle, which, by the way, is a pickup truck,
yes, here it is.
Upwards of $600, $700 for a regular pickup truck. I'm talking a Ford F-150
Yep.
pickup truck.
Yep, your tax dollars at work. So, Clint, I wonder,
It is absolutely.
where's that money been going?
You know damn well where that money's been going. It's been going to a train that's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
the commuter train Fresno to Bakersfield. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Lots of people commute.
Oh, that's right. All the illegals need some place to get on. They need a train to get on so that they can commute rapidly.
Right.
Very important.
Right. Yeah, no, it's absolutely insane.
That will not be built.
And here's the thing. The Democrats actually came out and said, this isn't Washington, D.C., we're going to get this done.
Yeah.
They are. So how many times has this state, after slamming the Trump White House in Washington, D.C., how many times has this state asked for and received emergency federal funding just since Trump has been in office? So on one hand, they go off and they talk all this garbage, and then they come back around, oh, please, can we have some money? Because we have a state of emergency. And here's the kicker. We know infrastructure is important to Trump. I bet dollars to donuts. That's a cop joke because you're a cop, and I figured you would appreciate
Thank
that.
you very much. I'll
so
be here
I
all
would bet
night.
you my dollars against your donuts, because donuts are in fact delicious, that if the state Democrats would have gone to the feds and said, hey, listen, infrastructure is important to you, it's important to us, we want to work together on this project, what can we do? I bet they would have worked together.
Oh, but no, that can't be.
Yeah.
So, over all the years, where did that money go from the Californians' gas taxes? And I think California's right now paying 47 cents or 48 cents tax per gallon. It's the highest in the nation. That much I do know. We have the highest personal tax rate and the highest business tax rate in the nation as well.
Yep.
So goody for us. I would guess that those funds that were not specifically earmarked for transportation, and in the bill, when you pass a bill like that, they're not going to earmark that just for roads and highways. No, that shite went into the general fund and got pissed away in other people's little pet projects. Save the salamander, save Tommy's boogers, save whatever.
Yeah. Oh, needle exchange.
Oh, yes, very important.
Right, let's give drug users free
That's right.
needles so that
very important.
They don't get sick. Oh, my gosh. Hey, so you're up. You have a Chicago high school story. We're about 4 minutes behind schedule right now.
Well, here's the funny thing. Occasionally you say to yourself, nothing can be sillier or stupider than California. I beg to differ. Chicago can be even more silly and stupid. Now, this is an article out of townhall.com. And the headline reads, Chicago to require college acceptance to get a diploma. And at first blush, you think, what? I don't quite understand that. What does that mean? This is interesting because 1 out of 4 children already enrolled in Chicago public schools doesn't graduate. And for some wackalicious reason, the city is trying to make it even harder for those people to get a diploma. Starting in the next academic year, incoming freshmen will have to show that they have been accepted to a college, community college, trade school, apprenticeship, or branch of the military in order to receive a diploma. And guess who recommended this?
Who?
Oh, that's right. Mayor Rahm Emanuel, the smartest tool in the box. Perhaps the biggest tool in the box.
So let me get this straight.
At Ritual, we know what goes into a magical holiday season. The potluck planning, the gift giving, the spreadsheets. This new year, take a moment for yourself with simple, daily rituals that help you put your foundational health at the top of your to-do list. Ritual's Essential for Women 18 Plus multivitamin is a clinically backed multivitamin featuring 9 high-quality key essential ingredients to help you fill key nutrient gaps in your diet. Or maybe you're stressing your daily protein intake, or you want to double down on support for your gut microbiome. From plant-based essential protein to 3-in-1 pre, pro, and postbiotic strains with Symbiotic Plus, Ritual helps you focus on supporting your body after a long season of juggling everybody else. And for a limited time, do it with 30% off a 3-month supply at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC now recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
So the government, in order to get a high school diploma, you don't have to meet certain requirements, or one of those requirements is in fact that you have to do something with your life after high school. You can't just get a high school diploma and exercise your religious your freedom,
right,
and go work at McDonald's or Burger King and have to memorize bun burger bun in order to be successful.
Well, see, here's his rationale. And
what about trade school? Is trade school
involved? Yes, trade schools are involved in that, which actually that's good. We need more trade schools because not everyone is meant to go to universities and colleges. And besides, the way things are going right now, the people that actually go to trade schools and come back with some semblance of an education, HVAC technicians, welders, that kind of thing, they actually have a true trade. Right off the bat, they're going to make a hell of a lot more money than some barista pulling the handle on a machine that goes because they have a degree in phlebotomy, or they have a degree in underwater intramural basket weaving or something like that. Emmanuel framed the new initiative as his latest move to get kids thinking about continuing their learning beyond high school. But he also said it would be compulsory. You won't be able to graduate unless you show that letter of acceptance to any one of the 4 outlets we talked about: college, community college, armed services, or a trade. And he was talking about that on CBS this morning. So here's the question now. That came down from the left hand of God, Rahm Emanuel. Who's going to enforce that? And how would you enforce that?
Oh, gosh, through the Gestapo.
Yes, the trade school.
No, the Homeland
police.
Security. Yeah, you can't. But
Yeah.
then you just don't get a diploma.
Right, and here's the interesting thing. I was looking through this article, and the first thing that went through my brain pan was, okay, where's the ACLU in this? Because to me that sounds judgmental and oppressive. And all through this article, did I see one individual who said, no, that's a really, really, really bad idea? No. Did the ACLU weigh in? No, they didn't.
Nope.
How about the NAACP? Did they weigh in?
Nope.
No. Al Sharpton?
No.
No. The Reverend Jackson?
No.
Nope.
The Sackheads radio show?
Yes.
Damn right.
Yes.
Absolutely. I have one for you. This segment used to be called Surprise Sean.
All right.
But since he prefers to dance naked in a licorice thong in Las Vegas doing his ballerina act...
making hay under the shade of a nani tree.
Yes. We are going with his smeckle. We are going to surprise the BZ.
Hey.
I have a segment for you.
I'm awaiting.
So there's an 18-year-old student. His name was Ziad Ahmed.
Ziad.
Got accepted into Stanford University.
Okay.
Pretty impressive. The way he got into Stanford University is he answered a question on his Stanford University application. The question posed was, quote, "What matters to you and why?" His response that got
the environment.
No.
The environment.
Nope. His response that got him into Stanford to that was, quote, hashtag Black Lives Matter 100 times.
Well, why not? Why not?
If you all could see BZ's face,
Why
there
not?
was a full 10 to 15 seconds of silence as BZ stared at me,
Why?
dumbfounded.
In
With this
retrospect,
look on his face, like, are you freaking kidding me right now? It's a look, if I can describe it this way. So it's a look if you can imagine somebody who just tells you the most absurd story in your life. Like, you know the truth. You know the truth, and you're asking somebody a question, and they answer with the most obscene, off-the-wall shit that you could imagine. And you look in just utter disbelief, confusion, and disgust, all wrapped into one, with a disbelief bow on top. And that's what BZ was staring at me. It's kind of like on the cop shows, right? As the cop looks at this suspect who is obviously lying, and you know in the cop show the suspect is about to get the ever-loving crap kicked out of him. That's the look BZ had on his face.
could you describe that look as what I quantify as the CPL, where I tilt my head to the side a little bit, and I give you the canine puzzlement look,
Yes.
and it's like this.
Yeah, but it was more focused than that. There was actually a little bit of ire there. There was a little bit of ire and the fact, like, are you freaking kidding me? This is the most ridiculous, insane thing I've lived in my life, and I want to choke the living shit out of somebody. Is the look you had?
I've had time to reconsider my position.
Yeah.
You know, academic achievement is overrated. It really is.
Academic achievement is dead, with the exception of a few places. Liberty University, Hillsdale College.
Hillsdale. Would have gone there. Yep.
Hillsdale College. Other than that, academic achievement's dead.
Yeah. Crickets. I can hear crickets chirping in the field. Free deet. Yeah, that's where academic achievement is highly treasured. Wait. What about the Ivy League colleges? Yale, Harvard. I'm sure they value academic achievement. I'm sure they do. Harvard School of Law. They have to do that. Too bad White Mamba isn't in here. Oh, speaking of that, I forgot my manners, and I'd like to say hello and welcome to everyone in chat. Literally, everyone in chat. Everyone is in chat right now. So I'd like to say hello to everyone.
We are getting information that our sound keeps cutting in and out.
I think that's an SHR
Great, so we're
website.
Okay.
No, I'm told that is an SHR Media website issue because when I listened, when I got told this, I got told this last night on my show.
Okay.
So I listened to the podcast. It's fine.
And which show was that? Shamelessly plug.
That would be the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday on the SHR Media Network. Right?
Okay, perfect. As you were saying, sir.
So anyway, everyone here seems to think that it's a website issue.
Does it affect on the replay?
No, that's why I was saying I listen to every show that I'm on because I want to hear the sound quality.
That's not narcissistic at all.
No, not at all. It's logical. And so I was listening, and during the time when people were saying in chat, you just fell all out. No, it's still going. The problem is when they're in chat and listening to us live, occasionally SHR will drop out.
Boxwine is actually texting me, and she is not in chat. And Boxwine is saying that we're also cutting in and out, so it's probably going to be through Spreaker also.
Well, some people think it's the
either that.
I don't think it's Spreaker because Spreaker is where
the name Boxwine, and she's had so much that the sound is cutting in and out in her own head, which is a distinct possibility.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad you said that and not me, for obvious reasons. I have a secret, and I'm not going to tell everyone until you decide to, so I'm going to keep that secret. But that said, I don't think it's Spreaker, because when it records and it keeps the podcast, which is where all my archives are, your archives for Sackheads.
Yes.
Every time I go in there, specifically under Spreaker, I don't find any interference in the show whatsoever. For whatever reason, I'm afraid that it's the SHR site. And a lot of people in chat seem to think so, too.
B-Dub has said Spreaker also.
Oh, it affects Spreaker?
That's what I'm being told. That's the intel I'm gathering. And we get good intel, unlike the Trump White House.
Oh, boy.
I'm sorry.
Oh, boy. Well, the funny thing is, like I said, when I was cutting out, I listened to my show last night, and it didn't reflect it to me on Spreaker. Anyway, that said, there seems to be an issue somewhere, and I'm not the techno guy to be able to figure that out.
Everybody knows that I am certainly not the techno guy at all. But yeah, B-Dub is on Spreaker as well, so it might be an issue with our board that we have to check out. But before we do that, we have a segment inside the Trump White House.
They're having some pretty serious issues in the Trump White House right now, and it looks like it's beginning to come to a head. And I really don't want to use this as an issue in terms of deflecting all the stuff that I think is not equally, much more important than inside baseball inside the White House. But I find that there's a big disagreement coming, and I think it's sort of coming to a head. And I was told, and I've been reading some of the political sites, there are two camps that are chirping at President Trump simultaneously. On one hand, on the right, it seems to be the Reince Priebus, Steve Bannon side, and they lean to the right. On the other shoulder, on Trump's left, is Ivanka, his daughter, and she's married to Jared Kushner, who is now
he's a total righty
and an official member of the Trump team. So he's an advisor. Yeah, as a matter of fact, he got sent to Iraq recently as an advisor. So he gets intel, he gets information, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, people, I'm sure you already know that Kushner's a registered Democrat as well. But Trump is being pulled from those two diametrically opposed directions. On one hand, he listens to Bannon and to Priebus because they tend to pull to the right. And then he's got these two people who are blood relatives of him, and they, I believe, want to move him to the left. So the New York Times is indicating that Bannon's role is diminished as other advisors blame him for various setbacks. And they're saying for the first 10 weeks in President Trump's administration, no advisor loomed larger in the public imagination than Stephen Bannon, the raw and rumpled former chairman of Breitbart News, who considers himself a virulently anti-establishment revolutionary out to destroy the administrative state. But here's the big deal. Behind the scenes, behind the facade, I like to say that word, facade, because it's actually produced facade, but I like facade.
I like facade. It's like looks deboner.
Yes, and swave.
Swave and deboner.
Yes, exactly. The kind of ideologist kind of guy who really had an inside track to Trump. He's gotten into all sorts of battles with other advisors, including, specifically, this is not a shock, Trump's daughter and son-in-law. And they complained about setbacks on health care and immigration. And what they're saying now is that apparently Bannon has been obviously absent from some of the strategic meetings inside the White House. Strategery. And now, for whatever reason or combination of reasons, the newest gig out is that he's lost his seat at the national security table, which may or may not mean something. Some people that are saying that, well, that means absolute doom and gloom for the people that are hoping to keep Trump to the right. They're saying that was sort of masterminded by a guy named Lieutenant General McMaster, who's Trump's national security advisor, and he wanted to keep a political advisor, Bannon, out of the Situation Room. And so Bannon actually said that at one point, because of the tumultuous nature inside the White House, that he was threatening to quit. And the two camps are at loggerheads. Trump ran on the issue of, I'm going to attempt to drain the swamp and tear shit apart, because that was his goal. That's why he got elected. That's been the ideology of Steve Bannon for some time. He wanted, and I think he actually said at one point, that he wanted to dismantle government. And now, I don't think it's anything but a naked power play for the ear of Donald Trump. And on one hand, Trump has a family, and I think he feels that familial pull. And he has an ideological pull from Priebus, but mostly from Steve Bannon. So where this goes, I honestly do not know. Are they on the cusp of some kind of a major turn in the Trump White House because of this? If Steve Bannon, for example, decides that he's going to exit stage right, so to speak? I don't know. I seriously don't know. I voted for Trump, and this is nothing new, just like probably millions of other people, because I was confident in his ability to select somebody appropriate for Supreme Court. And that's another issue entirely. Yeah. And mostly because he wasn't Hillary Rodham Clinton.
So here's the thing. Trump, love him or hate him, he's a brilliant businessman. The man is very, very intelligent. And I understand that there could be some familiar pull. And you know that there's powers of government that are pulling at him as well. I believe Trump is smart. And I'm saying this because, look, I'm not a blithering, slobbering Trump supporter.
No, I am not by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. But I do think Trump is strong enough as an individual, and he has been strong enough as an individual to put his business interests and family members in positions to best help him and the business succeed. And I believe he's smart enough and shrewd enough to do that in his cabinet as well. I think he's treating the presidency much like he is running a business, which he's the chief executive. It's the executive branch of government. That's what he almost should be doing. Are there other things he has to consider? Absolutely there are, that you wouldn't as a head of business, of course. But the interest of the country, I believe, are going to be put ahead of the interest of Donald Trump. I think he's trying to figure out how to balance the different pieces he has to be more successful. So I fully expected him, his first 6 months of the presidency, to actually be making a lot of moves, even within his own organization. I expected people to be coming and going, because I think he has to see how people are going to fit and what role they're going to best fit in. It's almost like I don't want to say a plug and play, but like if you have a bunch of headphone jacks and you don't know which one goes to which headset, right? So you put the headset on and you plug in that jack until you find out if it works. And once you find the jack that works with that particular headset, you take that one off and now you pick up the next one. And so I think he's going to be trying to move those pieces around to see how everything best fits, and he gets the team in place and the people in place that he wants. In my opinion, I actually expected that. So I'm not surprised by any of these moves, but I can certainly understand how people could be a little disquieted by these moves because they're not normal, right? Most people come in, they instill people in these positions, and that's it.
There are a ton of things at play, though. A ton of things. The Democrats are still being obstructionists.
Of course
there are still an assload of appointments
Yes.
that they have not allowed to come into the fray, and they've not allowed him to make.
Yes.
You know, these are not primary appointments. These are secondary appointments. You know, like Sessions doesn't have anybody to back him up,
Right.
for example.
Yes.
Tillerson doesn't have anybody to back him up. That's all the fault of the Democrats.
Absolutely. 100%.
But we do know one thing. We know that Trump wants to make the government work like a business. So his budget, when he came out with his budget, which of course the established hacks on the GOP side, they didn't care for because it minimized stuff. He's treating it like a business, and I see we're over time. And you know what? I think, how about a break? Are we due for a break
We
here?
are. We're up against a break. When we come back, BZ's target, we're going to be Susan Rice. Is anyone shocked? All that and more here on the Sackheads Radio Show.
Right.
SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cops are stupid,
Sackhead Clint.
bro. All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking, drinking, drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to Ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Sackhead Clint in studio with
Sackhead BZ, and without Sackhead
Sackhead Twinkle Toes.
Tutu?
Twinkle Toes, Tutu.
All right.
Tutu Twinkle Twos.
Okay.
Yeah.
From the last question that I had, I knew that there are a bunch of positions that are yet unfilled in the Trump administration, so I thought I'd go, well, where are you going to go? You're going to go to the search engine, you're going to find out. There are 2,000 positions still unfilled, many requiring Senate approval, that at this point, close to 100 days into his administration,
Yep.
Trump still does not have filled, and that's the fault of the Democrats, because that's purposeful, it's obstructionist, to delegitimize his presidency and undermine him in as many ways as possible. So it's purposeful. When he's not getting shite done, it's because the big folks at the top in the cabinet don't have the staffs underneath them
And look how
to help.
And look how much he's gotten done.
Still, yeah, that's a despite, not because of sentence.
Absolutely. So, Susan Rice. Is anyone surprised? That's the name of the segment.
Yes, but I mean,
But it's,
no one is surprised. It's one of those things where A goes to B and goes to C and goes to D, and it all started out when the House Intelligence Committee Chairman, Devin Nunes, who's a Republican, came out and said it appears as though some names have been purposely unmasked by Obama administration officials. And when he said that, immediately he was attacked by Democrats.
Yep.
That was a partisan statement. The highest-ranking Democrat in the House Intelligence Committee, whose name is Adam Schiff.
Hang on a second. I'm sorry. Gulf Dogs just made the most astute observation of the night. Very strange, he says, that Manilow came out today, meaning as gay, and Sean ain't here.
Wait a minute.
saying.
Stop the presses.
And what's very interesting is Sean went to Vegas.
You know, now you...
Same-sex marriage legal in Vegas, because you can do it on the spot.
Now,
that gold digger, Sean, may be up to something.
You know, see, here's the thing. Do you really believe in coincidence?
No.
Now it makes me wonder. Golf Dogs, do you think he may have put his finger on the issue?
Oh.
Yeah, that.
I don't know.
It makes me wonder.
Look, we can't confirm or deny anything.
No, we don't. We just don't know.
But it's very, very suspicious, and I didn't put that together. Golf.
That's a highly insightful comment.
Absolutely.
And it does nothing but beg a ton of questions.
If we were giving listener choice awards or listener awards, you would earn one.
Oh.
But we don't, so
Listen,
I'm sorry.
Oh, there would have to be an award in some fashion. And we'd have to give it to him. If nothing else, then just a crayon to send him. You know, a crayon on some pieces of paper. Here, like my BZ award that I got for. It says, you weren't around when I got this.
That looks like Sean wrote it.
This is the award. It says, award to BZ for best show on SHR Media Network. And I wish I had, that we were live, we had video, something like that, like the upscale Ken McClinton
It does say
can afford to have video because, well, everybody knows that Ken McClinton drives around in his Rolls-Royce Corniche.
Yeah, let's be real about why Ken has video. Ken has video because nobody believes he's black.
I never thought of that.
He has video because he claims to be a black conservative.
Yes, I've heard that, alleged.
Yes. And he doesn't sound black. Nobody believed he was black. So they accused SHR of being racists, which Sean is. There's no doubt about it. Sean is
that's a given.
Racist.
We can say that because he's not here.
Because he's not here, and because it's true.
Right.
So they accused us of basically whitewashing. So in response to that, he had to prove to the world that he was in fact black. So if you're thinking he has video because he enjoys everybody staring at him, no, it's actually for proof. And the way that he talks,
that's a great reason.
There's no delay because he didn't want to be accused of being similar to Milli Vanilli, like with the whole lip syncing thing.
All right,
those
cheetahs.
You know that's going to be the next thing, right? Well, that's a black guy, yeah, but it's not really the exceptional one because he's clearly lip syncing the entire show. And now I wouldn't make that claim. Sean totally would.
Sean would.
Yeah, but we wouldn't. So anyways, you were saying, sir.
Isn't that interesting how we got just left on a little tangent like that right now? But it's applicable. And by God, that's why it's the Sackhead Show. We get to do that. It's your show, for God's sake.
We can do whatever the hell we want.
Certainly.
I can even say shit.
Oh. Poo-poo nasty. Anyway, Devin Nunes he had all the crap thrown at him for daring.
Shit, too. Go ahead.
Shit.
Thrown at him.
Yeah, no, except out of me it comes out this way generally, shite, because I just kind of like that word. I think it's kind of a little bit different from shit. You put an E on it, it becomes shite, and sort of but not a long E, it's a long I, because otherwise if you put a long E it would be shitey, and that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So Devin Nunes got all sorts of shite thrown on him for daring to come out and say that, except that not long ago, actually just slightly more than a month ago, there's a person named Evelyn Farkas who came out on MSNBC and made sort of a semi-startling revelation that at the time went right over everyone's heads.
Oh, no, I don't think it did. I think it immediately got kind of put aside, that it was hoped it wouldn't be noticed or played.
Well, let's put it this way. It remained off the radar screens of...
Would you like a kiss?
I've got one right over there.
Okay.
From last time.
Okay.
And I can't. I can't reach it.
I was going to toss you
from
a
here.
Hershey's.
Well,
kiss.
And if you did, that would be not the first time that you've given me a kiss
on air.
Right.
Right.
That would be like let's see. There were two before.
Yeah.
And if you did that, if you gave me a kiss tonight, I think that would be 3 in total.
Unless I gave you 2 tonight, then
right.
It would be 4.
Then it would be 4.
Right.
No, that's a good point. But thank you for asking. That's
welcome.
Very considerate of you.
You're welcome.
So she was asking, she was essentially affirming that the Obama administration had gone in and was rummaging around in the Trump surveillance drawer.
Yep.
And this all goes back to Trump having sent a tweet out one weekend that said that he was being wiretapped by the Obama administration. And that's an inartful word at the time. But the truth of it is now that there is no wiretapping anymore. Wiretapping
went out in like the
indicates an analog way, back when, that's the kind of crap that we had to do. But it's an analog way in a digital world. So truly, technically, no one gets wiretapped anymore. They go in and they get surveilled. So the proper usage, which Trump didn't know because that's not his job to know the intelligence kind of stuff, he was surveilled. She comes out and essentially confirms that.
Yeah.
Devin Nunes has already come out and confirmed that. And then people will argue, but I think probably it was a gentleman by the name of Mike Cernovich who came out with a story indicating now, most recently, Susan Rice was the individual that is responsible for the unmasking of those names.
Yep.
She has since gotten onto CNN and in many ways refuted it, but already she's having issues because she, on one show, indicated one thing, on another show she indicated another. Now there are conflicts, and now the Democrats, in terms of pushback, are trying to... The whole thing is, the left wing is trying to get it back on Russia and Trump, and everything else, despite being truthful, is a distraction. So the newest distraction from the Democrats is this was said of Susan Rice because they're sexist and they're racist. That's all they have.
So here's the most disturbing thing that came out, and this came out on a story by Catherine Herridge on FoxNews.com, and it talks about that the intelligence reports, kind of at the center of this Susan Rice issue, according to the article, quote, almost resembled a private investigator's file, according to a Republican congressman familiar with the documents. And the interesting thing is, Representative Peter King out of New York said, quote, this is information about their everyday lives. Sort of like in a divorce case where lawyers are hired, investigators are hired just to find out what the other person is doing from morning until night, and then you try to piece it together later on. Now, according to this article, only 2 members of the House Intelligence Committee have seen the entire file personally, and that is Devin Nunes,
right,
who you mentioned is a Republican out of California,
correct,
and Adam Schiff, a Democrat, also out of California,
who was butthurt because he wasn't the first individual that Devin Nunes went to speak to.
But Schiff's statement, listen to Schiff's statement. This is very, very telling to me. And this appears in that article I referenced from FoxNews.com. But Schiff's statement, here's what he said, quote, I cannot comment on the content of these materials or any other classified documents. And nothing should be inferred from the fact that I'm treating classified materials the way they should be treating, by refusing to comment on them. Only the administration has the power to declassify the information and make it available to the public. That's Adam Schiff's response on what's in the files. Well, as things are coming out saying, hey, wait a second, this has information about their personal life. This is information about them personally. And Adam Schiff, instead of saying absolutely not, I can't discuss specifically what's in these files because it's intelligence, but I can tell you absolutely that is not that I can tell you what's not in there, and information about their private lives is not in there. I can't tell you what is in there, but their personal information is not included in these documents. That's ridiculous. That's a ploy by the Republicans, blah, blah, blah. Why could he not say that?
Well, it's a triumvirate. There are 3 reasons, only 3, why an American name can be unmasked. The first is death. There's some kind of an indicator that that American is going to be killed, faces death in some fashion. The second one is with regard to terrorism. And the third is a criminal act. Other than that, there is no acceptable reason to do that under the 50 U.S.C. sections of espionage.
So why would Schiff, a Democrat, make the statement he made? I'm not commenting at all. Information's coming out that, wait a second, these files look more like their intelligence reports about personal lives, their everyday activities. These are the reports that are coming out now. And Adam Schiff, somebody who is a Democrat who has been defending these things, who've been calling Nunez out, says, I cannot comment on the content of these materials or any other documents.
I think the point you're attempting to make is,
why would
what isn't this? It isn't a denial.
Right.
That's what it isn't.
Exactly. That's my point. Why did he choose those words?
They're weasel words.
Yes, they are. Why did he not make the statement he made? Because he can't come out and say, there is absolutely nothing to this. I can't discuss what's in these files, but I can tell you that this is a partisan ploy. There was nothing improper done based upon what I've seen, and other than that, I cannot comment what's in these files. He did not say that.
No, and
this is not a denial, like you said. And I find that very, very interesting. And how is that not being...
Weaselly.
How's that not being reported more?
Well, that's because the media is owned by what I call the American media maggots, and they're not going to tell you if it positively affects anyone on the right. They're not going to tell them that the house is burning. They'll just let them burn up in the house.
Yeah,
that's the aim and the goal of the media. Here's what I fervently believe it's all still about. There had to be some other reason than themselves as to why Hillary Clinton lost. They have installed and placed all the marbles on Russia.
Yes.
There can be no other thought process other than Russia, because they're still gobsmacked. She's not sitting in the White House. It can't be any kind of introspection is needed. It can't be any kind of we need to look inside ourselves and begin to do some kind of an unveiling of where are we going, why are we going there, and more importantly, why did we lose? Well, they must have lost because everyone involved cheated. Who helped them cheat? The Russians. So that's the meme they've decided to fall for. Everything else is absolutely extraneous, which is why everything except that meme is it's a distraction as far as the Democrats are concerned.
And Susan Rice, this is not her first time in controversy.
Oh, hell no.
At all. Nor is it the first time that I think she lied. How are people not outraged?
Here's what...
Is she going to go to jail?
Well, here's what everyone, in my opinion, needs to know.
Is she going to go to jail?
I'm not sure.
Should she go to jail?
Well, because here's what I believe, it all dovetails together. Like I said last night, I believe, and Jack Probasiek believes also, that the actual surveillance of Donald Trump began in 2011. What was going on in 2011? Donald Trump was considering running against Barack Hussein Obama as president and beginning to gather people together, etc. And that's when the issue of the birth certificate came up.
Yep.
And I believe that Obama was beginning to have Trump surveilled, and that his retinue, his contingent at that time, because of a very important point. May 1st, 2011, two incredibly important events occurred simultaneously. One was the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which Barack Hussein Obama attended because he knew that Donald Trump would be in attendance as well, and he was. And it was his ability at that dinner to skewer Trump as much as possible. What also occurred that night, and the choice between the two is highly important. That was the night that Osama bin Laden, the raid in Abbottabad, Pakistan occurred, And so Barack Hussein Obama purposely chose to attend a dinner so that he could oppose Trump, as opposed to being an eyewitness to one of the most important acts of the Barack presidency. And he made his political choice. Fast forward to 2016. Now, in 2011 also, he began to to expand the realm of who might access intelligence issues at that point, which he also did 2 weeks prior to his leaving in the office last year. And that's all to make sure that more agencies are able to get their hands on intelligence materials, because he was already attempting to destroy Trump, and he had to get it into gear once November 8th occurred. After November 8th, everyone planned on Hillary Clinton being in there, and then camshafts were thrown all throughout the fruited plain when it was discovered that the worst thing possible had occurred, and Hillary Clinton was not installed as Queen of the United States of America. It all dovetails together.
Of course it does.
And this is nothing more than an extension of that. That's sort of a workaround to this very specific point. Susan Rice was the U.S. ambassador to the UN. So she was already in the Obama system. She apparently did such a good job and carried Obama's water so well that she was next installed as National Security Advisor for Barack Hussein Obama. The only one above a National Security Advisor is the President of the United States themselves. There was no intervening individual between Susan Rice and Barack Hussein Obama, so you cannot tell me, because of that relationship, that whatever it is that Susan Rice knew or knows, that Barack Hussein Obama doesn't know already. If somehow that linkage can be made, and somehow the linkage can be made that Susan Rice, by way of unmasking, allowed those names to be leaked to the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, and you can create that nexus of materials, not only have you exposed Susan Rice and everyone in the intelligence community down the line who had their fingers in that particular intelligence pie, but you also expose Barack Hussein Obama. Stop. Another thing. Why was it so important? Again, because I believe this dovetails. Why was it so incredibly important that everyone remove and throw crankshafts and monkey wrenches into the attempt to find out what it was that was on Hillary Clinton's server, and why were there so many protections made of that? I would submit some of the material in which we're currently interested exists or did exist on Hillary Clinton's server. There's much more to this. And then, to me, she's in the mix as well. This leads to everyone. And so the Democrats, the American media maggots, and many people in the intelligence community have to do their level best not to be exposed.
They do, but there's a good chance they will. There is no way this isn't going to be investigated. There's no way this should go uninvestigated.
Well, CNN, Don Lemon on CNN said, I'm not even going to speak about this because it's so incredibly specious, I'm not going to address any airtime to it. So of the three major channels, ABC, CBS, NBC, what kind of time have they spent on Susan Rice? And this is documented 1 to 0%. Who's been the only people to cover this? That would be Fox News. Right, exactly. But that is no shock to you, and it's no shock to me or anyone listening.
But if Congress does their job, if the Justice Department does their job, if there is an investigation, and look, I certainly believe that Susan Rice has broken some laws, and depending what the investigation reveals and who was involved and how far it goes, if somebody gets held accountable, if charges get filed, then the news agencies are going to have to follow the story. They're going to have no choice. They can try and hide it but the fact is, you have Jeff Sessions as Attorney General. You have a Republican-led Congress, and I don't want to say it should be partisan, but the Democrats would sweep it under the rug. And so if you have an they would have no choice but to cover it and cover the story, at least touch on it, and then people are going to start asking the question. Right?
They have to.
They'd have to. Folks, we're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Trump's foreign policy, specifically batshit crazy North Korea and recent developments in Syria. All this and more on the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cop was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense Show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplansdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network.
Damn, an hour's gone. Like that.
Like that.
Holy moly.
More than an hour.
Yes,
yes. We're only 54 minutes away, folks.
That's true.
How sad is that?
I know. It zips.
So, hello.
I wonder who that is.
Hello. Kim Jong-un is going batshit crazy. Shocker. Shocker. He is continuing to defy everybody, for the most part. He hasn't blown anybody up with an anti-aircraft gun in a while, at least that we've seen.
In a while, yes.
In a little
He's
while.
still launching rockets like mad.
Well, yeah, but the last one may have pinwheeled. I mean, so that's a big deal. But here's the thing. Tae Yong Ho, I might be pronouncing that wrong. He's the most senior North Korean defector in over 20 years. And in a NBC News report, he said that Little Kim is, quote, desperate in maintaining his rule by relying on his nuclear weapons. And essentially also the ICBMs, the intercontinental ballistic missiles that he's developing. Basically, he's saying that he sees America as an imminent threat, and that if he does continue to view America as an imminent threat, he envisioned he could very easily envision North Korea as striking the United States, or at least some of the allies in the region. North Korea is believed to have several nuclear weapons. Nobody really knows for sure if they have the capability of hitting the mainland United States.
Well, they're like Iran. Iran finally had a series of missiles that could readily strike Israel, which is not that far away. Once they need two things: you need the package and the delivery vessel.
Yeah,
he's got the delivery vessel.
Look, he's got the package too.
And now he needs to weaponize his plutonium and create a fissile device to install in his ICBMs.
Well, here's they say that Little Kim is now a, quote, fully equipped with nuclear attack capability. North Korea made that claim after they launched a missile from a submarine. And I believe they could launch, I believe they have weaponized material. They can launch it on, they can put it on the tip of a missile, and they can launch it, I believe, into South Korea, and I think they can deploy it regionally. Do they have the capability to hit the United States? I don't know. That's kind of the big question. The speculation that I've read seems to be that in a couple years they will certainly have that capability to hit the west coast of the United States. And then what do you do? Because you have somebody who is clearly batshit crazy, who does want to attack the United States. Now you have this person who defected, who said, he absolutely will first strike. North Korea may have medium range missiles capable of striking American military bases in the Pacific within the next couple years. And there are some that believe that they're going to be able to hit the western U.S. in 2 to 3 years. They're continuously testing missiles. We know this is their goal. We know they are hostile. For I'm sure all of our listeners know, but we are in a state of war with North Korea still. There has never been a peace treaty signed. We are in a ceasefire. We're in an armistice for the last 50 years or so. But we are still in a state of war with North Korea. There has never been a
formalized ceasefire
or formalized peace. There's no peace. And by the way, Mary, if you say bye-bye to us, then unfortunately, if the West Coast goes, so does the SHR Media Network and the Sackheads Radio Show. So let's not hope for...
Yeah, let's not go that far, Mary,
right,
if you would, please.
Let's not be ridiculous. Like San Francisco, okay. Like Berkeley.
Well,
maybe.
Would
that reach us, though?
That's Bay Area. Well, it depends
would that
on
radiation reach us?
It depends on the winds at the time, depending upon the kilotonnage and the throw weight of whatever package you've thrown at us.
Let's wait for a good day when things are blowing.
It could be up to 60-mile radius.
Yeah. Well,
that leaves us out because we're about 110 miles from the Bay Area.
We're good.
So we'd be okay. Yeah. But I mean, if the winds were easterly, we'd be in a world of crap.
A world, or just like
a bunch of crap?
Really?
Yes, we would.
They were 40 miles, though.
I know. That's theoretically speaking, from the blast radius, and the kilotonnage now is so much greater than it was before because the weapons. And then,
but does North Korea have that?
Well, you don't know.
Like, I mean, they might put it like on a slingshot, like a Nerf gun or something.
In the Cold War, for example,
right?
The Russians. Everyone knew that the Russians' missiles were not particularly accurate, but they didn't necessarily have to be because they had so damn many of them. Right. We could pinpoint a strike, but we also knew conveniently that in terms of the Russians, that their missiles didn't have to be so accurate. All they had to do is just throw an arseload of them and rain metal hail and radioactive hail all over us, and that would work.
Yeah. Fun. So now we're heading that way with North Korea.
But MAD kept us safe. And that's mutually assured destruction.
Yep.
Because meaning that, you nuke us, sorry, here comes our missiles out of the silos, and Kim Jong-un doesn't get, nor does he much care about that concept, I don't think.
I don't think he does either.
Let him send one missile towards, say, Japan. Well, Japan, you and I were talking about this about a month ago. Japan has already crafted in Japan's defense forces, and they're predicated solely upon defense. Japan is so frightened that they are considering and creating a first strike option on North Korea. Japan is considering that. So that tells me they're scared shitless of this loon.
And folks, last time they did that, it didn't work out so well for the world, if you guys remember.
No.
But look, military may be our only option. Military action in North Korea may be our only option.
Well,
and look,
and we go back to what Rex Tillerson said. If you remember that quote from Rex Tillerson, blah blah blah, is that off the table? And Rex Tillerson said, with regard to North Korea, nothing is off the table.
And General Keane just came out now. Just came out this week and said, quote, "We are rapidly and dangerously heading towards the reality that the military option is the only one left when it comes to getting North Korea to denuclearize and not weaponize ICBMs." That's Jack Keane. He's a retired 4-star general. He is not somebody who minces words. He's not somebody who doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But look, Little Kim has been so provocative. How do the Chinese and the Russians not say, yeah, he's a little batshit crazy? We may have only one option, and that one option may be military action in North Korea. Do you really think the Chinese are going to get involved on their behalf, like in form of troops or ships?
Here's what North Korea does for China.
And then you just unify Korea.
That's not going to happen.
How does it not happen?
The reason that China still tolerates North Korea is because North Korea protects China's southern flank. You can have
China's building islands. Build some more islands.
You can have PRK troops mobilized in a microsecond on China's southern border, and they're highly militarized. They've got tons of vehicles, many troops, and they would go on an instant to assist China in whatever conflict they happen to get in, if, strategically speaking, the application of North Korea, its military, would be applicable. Here's another thing that comes into the mix.
No, it is absolutely. But at this point, I don't think China, given our economic ties, China would find a way strategically to reinforce that southern border. They would strengthen their navy in that region. They would build their army up in that region. There's ways they can do it, and I would think that they're starting to look at those options, because with everything little and I'm surprised China doesn't take Little Kim out themselves and instill a puppet government for them. That would be the smartest thing for China to do.
They're not going to do that. And they're not going to do that because they have it on good faith, I believe, that still North Korea will help China in any fashion.
That's fine. But what if the only option left to Japan, South Korea, the United States is to take military action against North Korea? Now China has a choice to make. And folks, we are rapidly approaching that point, I believe. China has a choice to make. They either stay out of it, and they have to find some other way to reinforce that southern border, or they have to help North Korea. And if they help North Korea, that's a big deal because we are tied to them economically. And look, you already have Trump taking China on from an economic standpoint.
Well, and
under Reagan,
taking China on in terms of Taiwan.
Yes, under Reagan, the biggest threat that Reagan saw to the world and the sovereignty of the United States and the threat to our way of life was the Soviet Union. Trump views that as China, because China has the means to take us over economically. Russia does not. How did we win the Cold War? We won the Cold War by the economic collapse of the Soviet Union because we controlled energy.
We won the Cold War because we outspent them.
We won the Cold War because we controlled energy. The Soviet Union couldn't compete economically with us. They couldn't compete with us on an energy basis, and they collapsed. China and us are tied economically, but China is our biggest threat right now. Our economic destruction, we're at greater risk of economic destruction than we are military destruction. China can destroy us quicker through economic means than Russia can destroy us through military means. And for those reasons, I believe Trump has focused on China as our primary threat. Now, kind of take that in the backdrop with what's going on. Yes, Mary, oil is key. And so is natural gas and those other energy sources. But now keep that China piece in the backdrop and look at what's happening in North Korea. North Korea, if we go in and we have to take action against North Korea, China has a choice to make. We're already starting a quasi, I don't even want to say war, but we're already starting to kind of hit them on the economic front because we have to. And Trump has really made no bones about that. But are they really going to want to get the military involved now also? So they're going to have to think very, very hard about that. If China were to go in and take out Little Kim and install a puppet government for themselves, they still have the North Korean army to protect their flank. They have a leader who's really kind of answerable to them and that they can keep in check and not piss us off in terms of going to war. I'm surprised China hasn't taken that step for those reasons.
You have to ask yourself what is in the mind of Xi. I don't want to showbiz my show tomorrow, but there is a new development in the front of China and Russia. And it's a very large development. And it has to do with strategy and also with economics. Mary Brockman is right in chat. Oil is the key, but mostly with regard to Russia. China doesn't really have to worry about that all that much.
And that's how we defeated them in the Cold War.
China is fairly independent in terms of energy. Yep. Russia is sitting basically on the catbird seat with regard to Europe because Europe, the EU, gets a great percentile of its oil from Gazprom.
They do. Thank you, Obama administration.
Yes, thank you.
We could have been exporting natural gas over there, too.
Well, at least the Keystone XL pipeline was created, but that's another entire strategic issue.
And White Mamba, I agree with you in the chat room. And again, with our own issues here and our own regulations here, we could be exporting to Europe, and that's, I think, what Putin is afraid of. But we have that capability to do them. That's why I view China as the greater economic threat, because we still have the resources here in the United States to, again, bring Russia down economically if we had to.
There's another issue. Again, I'm not going to showbiz myself. You're going to have to listen to the show tomorrow because I'm going to let some things be known about China and Russia. The biggest question, though, is if Little Kim decides that he's going to lob something somewhere, into Japan, for example. All you'd have to do to have the entire island and the chain of Japan to have a bad day is throw one fairly decent nuke somewhere in the middle of mainland Japan. And that nation is gone.
Yeah.
That economy is entirely eradicated.
Yep.
They already had issues with their nuclear power plant with Fukushima. That's not entirely disappeared. There's still radiation being leaked at that particular facility. So all you have to do to kill an entire economy of a nation is one nuke into Japan. You'd eradicate most everyone on that island, I would submit. It's of such a grave occurrence that if Kim were to do that, you could easily, I could foresee, unload World War III. Because of this, we would strike North Korea. Where we would go after North Korea, especially if China decided to intervene, and it said that it would, let's say it didn't want to go for the mainland United States, but in order to make a message, a statement, China lobbed something into Puerto Rico or Guam, and they didn't want to go into the continental United States. Then you'd have just about open warfare. Now, Russia, Putin, is going to have to decide on whose side is he. And the EU would have to decide on whose side are they. The EU is not a military stronghold, not nearly as it used to be. We, the United States, have been protecting, through NATO, a great deal of the European Union historically for quite some time. Mm-hmm. If the nuclear gates are opened, I don't see any other way that China would not be involved, and I don't see any other way that Russia would be involved. Russia would sit back,
yes,
and wait and see
say that. Yep.
Who's winning, who tactically appears as though they're going to be the victor,
yes,
and who's going to be the loser,
and then
because they would not be directly involved.
Correct.
But they, after taking a wait-and-see attitude, it's not entirely impossible that they would make a definite attachment to whoever they perceived would be the winner.
I agree, and I was just going to say that as you were kind of going through your scenario. I don't think Russia would jump in on a side.
No.
They would sit for a few years.
They can afford to sacrifice a few thousand square miles of eastern Russia if for whatever reason it became radioactive for some strange reason. They've got lots of land in Russia, and much of it is not occupied. Yeah. So I could easily seeing them taking a wait-and-see attitude before they decide they're going to commit, and to whom.
Absolutely, and that would be their best play. I don't know if China were smart. If North Korea did begin conflict, or even if we had a first strike against North Korea, China's best play would be to make a lot of noise in the international community, posture their military, but not do a frickin' thing. That would be their best play. Because if they did something in retaliation, particularly given the fact that little Kim is so freaking batshit crazy, and they know this. China knows little Kim is batshit crazy.
I agree. They're fully cognizant of his mental status.
If there's a first strike against North Korea, and let's say the Koreas are not unified. Let's say there's a first strike against North Korea, a new leader is allowed to come in, or maybe little Kim goes the way of Gaddafi, where he shows up to the UN, makes a batshit crazy couple-hour ranting speech, and then goes home. I could see China saying, well, he kind of had that one coming. But our flank is still secure. We can posture a little bit to kind of build that relationship. And, hey, you're the bully on the block and you got smacked. That's China's best play, because if China does something to us, what do you think Trump's going to do? What happens if we just tell China we're not paying you? Is there an international bankruptcy court that's going to come in and say, no, United States, you have to pay, or what?
Trump is the 2017 equivalent of the 1980 Reagan.
Yes, that's my
point. They don't know what he would do. They think he would probably be quick to react. That can be used against him. It can be a plus. But I think history has taught them, and they're beginning to understand that he can go anyway, and he could be reactionary 1 hour and not quite so reactionary the next. Meaning that I don't think they can put their fingers in, nor can the rest of the U.S., as to what he would do under those circumstances.
But that's kind of my point, right? What would happen if Trump gives the big middle finger to China and says, "Oh, okay, we're not paying you"? Is China going to come seize anything from the U.S.? No.
No, that's true.
No.
That's true.
Is there an international bankruptcy court that's going to fine us, and if we flip them the big middle finger at the UN and say, you are not paying that either, what are they going to do?
Well, there is the global bank, but that could be that could be argued in court for years. But you're talking about physically.
Yes.
What could they do?
And even if there's something argued in court, if a court says no pay, and we say fuck you, what are they going to do? Are they going to say, fine, nowhere in the world are we taking the dollar? Our allies are still going to take the dollar. Fine, fuck you, don't take the dollar. I'm not importing any more of your cheap shit with lead paint. Perfect, thanks. Thanks for playing. There's nothing. There's nothing. China needs to be very, very careful here.
Physically, yes, I completely agree with that.
Is life here going to stop?
But Xi has to run a very careful line. In a way, you could say he's kind of like little Chucky Schumer. Chucky Schumer is not as evil as Harry Reid. Harry Reid was inherently an evil man, in my opinion.
I think so, too. I believe so.
Little Chucky Schumer has to hold the water of the party.
But
he has to and still has to run that fine little razor's edge line of keeping to the party and keeping things in sort of a semblance of working order. You could say that Xi is something like that. He has to present a game face to those party officials that are aligned with him to keep them in order. He has to present a game face to the rest of the population of China. And yet I'm hoping that he's smart enough to realize that if he goes too far in one particular direction, it won't go well.
I think so too. But what's your response to my question of what happens? Physically, there's nothing happens. No, but economically, what happens?
He cannot do that.
Economically, there's nothing that happens to us. So he needs to be careful if he wants any freaking money. Because they get a lot of money from us.
They do. But there's more coming on that. I'm not gonna out my show tomorrow.
So should we hold out on Sackheads Radio because we're showbizzing a show and we don't want to include it on a segment? How fair is that?
All I can say is that economically speaking, because if you don't go full tactical, if you don't involve a military, the only way that you have to ensure the continuity of your country is by way of economics.
Yes.
And in terms of, I'll showbiz my show a little bit. In terms of alliances, with whom do you ally, and for what reason, and what will be the benefit, and the mutual benefits to be acquired from an alliance? There was the Axis. There were the Allies in World War II. They saw semi-common interests or major common interests, and they grouped themselves in that fashion. It's coming that way now, and it's becoming much larger, and it's expanding, and alliances are coming where you wouldn't have seen them 10 years ago.
It is, and Mama made a great point in the chat room. Hey, other than a trade war, there's not too much that's going to happen. And yes, China is very entrenched as a U.S. supplier already. Could it have a major impact on our country? I think short term, yes, it could. But you look at what Trump is already doing in terms of getting industry back here to the U.S., including steel, auto industry back into Michigan, keeping jobs and industry here in the United States and getting our industrial power back up. And I think while we might be affected short term, I think long term, Russia would be the loser. Much like in World War II, economically, we had to build that engine up, right? Right out of the bat in World War II, our forces were not built up to a point where we could really compete on the same scale as the Germans, particularly
in the 30s.
But we had to gear up that economic or that industrial engine in order to basically outproduce the other countries. And I think that's what would happen with China. So would we be affected short term in a trade war? Of course we would. But would we eventually outproduce them? Yes. And Donald Trump is the right man to do it based on his business background.
Well, a hell of a lot more than Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or anyone on the left.
Absolutely.
Oh, we're past
I hate
due.
to cut this segment short, but we are up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the Trump presidency and some of the accomplishments and what's on the agenda coming up. All that and more here on the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying capitalist, stupid bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking, drinking, drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to Ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Sackhead Clint.
Sackhead BZ. Wait.
In studio.
Someone's missing.
Someone's missing. Who's missing?
Someone's enjoying themselves in Las Vegas right now, even as we speak. This is midweek. This is Wednesday. It's April 5th. The year of our Lord 2017. So that particular individual who happens to be in Las Vegas right now has 2 more days of buttery goodness, applying perhaps, shall we say, plastic sheets and Wesson oil.
Yes.
In
a liquor stall.
Any stage that he wishes, so to speak.
Or in any stage that his client wishes.
And to that I say, God bless him.
Absolutely.
May he do whatever it is that he wants.
Absolutely. Or that his client wants.
Yes. Precisely. Whether it involves small furry animals, metal poles, it doesn't matter. I really couldn't care less.
As long as they're consenting adults.
Well, exactly. Absent that, God bless you, Sean, whatever it is that you want, that blows up your tutu, so to speak.
Or that your client wants and that you blow.
Which is equally important.
You blow their tutu.
In a capitalistic society.
They're 6 or whatever.
They're very important.
Right. Hey, did you see the story? Mayor Bill de Blasio has come out. He's pushing an initiative that every inmate who leaves a New York City jail is going to come out and have a job waiting for them. A city job waiting for them.
A city. Oh,
yes,
well, let's
a government job.
That'll be...
it's a city-funded initiative.
Something like pushing a broom, emptying trash. It'll be something that most people can really aspire to.
So they're guaranteed work over unemployed city residents who haven't broken the law, including high school and college graduates.
Perfect.
$10 million a year the city's saving on this. He calls it a, quote, a smart investment for everyone.
It is. It is a smart investment.
Getting out of the cycle of crime is in everyone's best interest.
Well, yes. In everyone's best interest. Look at how well it's been doing for the state of California.
How awesome is that? I thought you'd appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's such a feel-good story.
It is, and I am happy for Mayor de Blasio.
By the way...
Actually, I'm happier for the city of New York. Keep your stupid shite up in the Northwest. We have enough problems over here.
So Syria, chemical weapons attack. The Syrian government is saying, no, it was the rebels that had the chemical weapons, and when we bombed them, the chemicals were released and killed a bunch of people. And the Trump administration is saying, no, this is a heinous chemical weapons strike and, quote, cannot be tolerated. The Egyptian president was with Trump, and how
yes, he met with Al-Sisi, I believe.
Yes, and the Egyptian president says that Trump has, quote, a true understanding of terrorism. What an interesting statement to be made. He praised Trump's understanding of what's happening in the Middle East and the Trump administration's commitment to deal with what's happening in the Middle East, saying that he really understands kind of what's going on and is going to deal with it, and contrast that to the Obama administration. Very interesting development that I wanted to kind of touch on real briefly before we talk about Gorsuch and we talk about Trump's golf outing with Rand Paul.
Now, see, I think that's a very important clue. We probably the golf outing and with whom they were interested. Yes. I think that's, to me, that is saying quite a lot. Oh, you know what we haven't made mention of? Right.
What's that? And Trump and Paul came out and said they're very optimistic.
Yes.
Very optimistic.
Yes.
Which is interesting after Trump came out and said, that's fine, I'll just deal with the Democrats on this.
Well, and the GOP Congress still can't get its act together. Paul Ryan is now saying it's going to be up to a year before we can do anything with regard to that. Paul Ryan also said a couple of days ago, it's going to be up to a year before we can get together on tax relief in any sort of form. This is not what was said during the Trump campaign. And now he's having to face reality. But reality is this. Reality is what you make of it. Off to my right, and I have not yet said this, we have a lava lamp
We do.
in studio.
We do.
Which has been, it's just a few feet off to my right up there. And I tell you what, that, number one, it harkens me back to the 60s. And number two, it's kind of transfixing.
I've been staring at it all night.
That's why I put it right there and then moved this away so that you can have a good view right at it.
Push that a little bit farther towards my usual desk. Yeah, bring that. No, pull that towards you. A little bit more. A little bit more. That perfect.
Now you can see it.
I am so transfixed. I was just transfixed on the tip. Not the first time I've said that in my life. I'm not proud about it.
No. Well,
Yeah, well, it was my own.
It's 2017.
But I'm staring at it, and even when I get upset about some of the shenanigans,
it's calming.
It's so calming.
It is.
It is ridiculously calming.
We may even need another.
We may all need one.
Yes, we're going to have individual lava lamps.
Different colors, right?
Hey, and when we put in video, then the lava lamp could be, as we have 3 windows for Sackheads Clint and Sackheads Sean and Sackheads BZ, and each one of us in the background from the camera, you could see our individually favorite colored lava lamp.
Yes.
I like that.
I like that too.
When are we going to get video? Ken has the money. If he can afford a Rolls Royce,
Ken had no choice.
Corniche, he can afford video. So why isn't there a lava lamp in Ken's studio?
Because we don't have to prove we're white, and Ken needs a lava lamp.
Maybe
we don't have video because we don't have to prove to the world that we are who we say we are. That's why we don't have video. So I think it's very promising on healthcare. Given the fact that
I think it's not nearly as critical as people say. It at one point it might have been sort of moribund, but it's not dead yet.
No,
and I think it may be coming back.
Well, it has to be very
for the exact same reason that you were talking about, involving the 2 persons that you mentioned.
Yep, absolutely, and it has to be alive, right? Otherwise, Trump would go to the Democrats and say, "Hey, let's talk about this." I guarantee he would.
But as I've said before numerous times, if there's one thing that Trump is a pragmatist. Yeah. And I don't think he quite cares to whom he goes to get it done.
Nope.
I don't think he really cares.
Hey, you know what? I may not be able to get it done the way I wanted to get it done, but I'm going to get it done, and I'll get something that's better than nothing, so that's fine. I'll deal with these guys.
Yes,
and
he
I'll
will.
make all you Republicans look like complete a-holes for your midterm elections coming up in 2018. And then the Democrats could go and say, we worked with the president. We got health care done and improved it for you. The Republicans couldn't do that. And I think that's what the Republicans are scared of. Think about how that would play. Am I wrong?
Again, though, it's extremely frustrating to me that they are so frequently their worst enemy.
Yes.
It's like gun meet foot.
Yes.
And they don't have the ability to forecast or see more than maybe a couple of inches down the road, except when it involves their own personal gratification, as in Senator McCain. As you know, you and I both realize, and I think we both hold the view that with Senator John McCain, it's all about him.
Absolutely.
Nobody else.
No.
Whatever it can be done to aggrandize him, that's what he's going to do.
Yes.
Whether it's right, whether it's wrong, if he can benefit from it, he's going to do it. And I'm saying that of a Republican. And frequently my thought is he should just admit it. I admire honesty and clarity. Just change your R to a D.
Or an I.
And be done with it. Because John McCain, as you remember, in the early 2000s was in fact threatening to jump the aisle and go over to a Democrat.
Yes.
At one time. So he's done it. He's made that mealy mouth stuff. He said it before.
Yep. By the way, I had the best dinner the other night. I don't mean to get off topic here.
That's okay. That's why
I barbecued New York steaks.
Nice.
Bourbon, uncured bacon, and black pepper sausages.
Bourbon and an uncured bacon, sausages?
And black pepper.
Ooh, I bet those were really good.
They were amazing. And they were amazing with the New York strips. And the reason I know this is because I was actually looking for something, and I was looking through pictures, and I saw pictures of those on the grill that I sent to my brother to laugh at him as I was drinking my whiskey. My brother is a much better cook than I am, but I still made something very good that I knew would make his mouth water.
I can grill.
I digress.
I can grill, but not great. I'm learning. I've been learning for a while. Okay. And boy, the sad thing was that I had to kill a lot of steaks before I finally got it. And that's what really made me sad.
That is sad, for sure. So that brings us to Gorsuch and that whole process. Are they going to go nuclear? Are they going to have to go nuclear? Will they be able to go nuclear?
There was information indicating that, again, McCain was attempting to be the savior, so to speak, and try to forestall a nuclear reaction. And by nuclear, we're talking about at this point, and all right, I have to go back, and we mentioned Harry Reid before. Harry Reid, Democrats, is the guy that got you into the current situation right now when he decided that he was going to filibuster, pulled it off, and the Republicans just went, well, all right, okay. Yep. There's no issue here, I guess. You really mean business, so that's okay.
Yep.
But a filibuster means that the Senate would require a full 6-0 votes, historically speaking, in order to confirm Judge Neil Gorsuch, who's, they're making him to be the Satan himself when he's like plain white bread. He's about as inoffensive as anyone can possibly be, but he's offensive to the left because he's sort of a semi-strict constructionist with regard to the U.S. Constitution, and he's an originalist, meaning that he's not there to create new law, he's there to interpret law.
Yes.
And by interpreting the law that's already on the books, and if it comes out with... See, that's the other thing. He said he could be... he could find for each case, and I believe that's absolutely true. Because if the law indicates that he has to find for a corporation, he's done it. And what that means to me is he's independent. They don't want him to be independent. They want him to lean left.
Yes.
So the independent judge...
Want an activist judge.
They want a judge who's going to make law instead of simply interpret the law as it's currently written.
Yes.
With that said, if they filibuster, then the GOP may not have any choice but to involve the nuclear option and install cloture, C-L-O-T-U-R-E, which basically means it's closed, we're stopping it now. And then they go down and ask themselves, do we have 51 votes? And if they have a slight majority in the Senate, because it's 100 people in the Senate, 51, just one over, means that you can install Judge Gorsuch as a SCOTUS candidate. What I don't understand, and maybe we need the underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones, to explain this to me. I don't understand, or Clint, maybe you can tell me, or anybody in chat, White Mamba in chat. I'm wondering why the Democrats are so incensed, why they absolutely feel they must filibuster this, because once that occurs and the GOP decides that, okay, screw you, we're going to go to a majority vote, simple majority, one over, we win.
Right.
And then once you do that for this particular justice,
under the Constitution,
yes, under this particular justice, information is coming to us, both you and I, Clint, that it's not entirely impossible that another SCOTUS opening could occur this year.
Absolutely.
And if it occurs this year in 2017 until 2020, I submit there could easily be another nominee coming up, another SCOTUS appointment place to fill. That would be 3 under President Trump.
Yeah.
If you filibuster, then Gorsuch will be appointed. There will be a second, and it only needs to be just a slight majority for the GOP, and then their second appointment is golden. And if it comes to a third, then the third appointment is golden. Why would you do that, Democrats, other than just to be obstructionist and try to prove a point?
That's the only reason. Because if you save your and it's particularly when Garland got Gorsuch got
they got their panties in a bunch of them. They're at Garland.
They did. But Gorsuch was confirmed. Was it 99 votes he got when he was confirmed to the appellate court?
Yeah, the exact same people that are opposing him now loved him then.
Yes.
Which tells you, obviously, it's politics.
So if you don't filibuster and you allow him in now, when the second opening opens up and you decide to filibuster, it gives you a little bit more credibility. But if you filibuster now and the Republicans give you the finger, you look like a-holes because you voted for him the first time. And now if you filibuster a second time, you look like a-holes again. And the Republicans are just going to say, oh, you don't have to filibuster, so we're just going to get our next guy. And now we don't have to go with a centrist, right? Now we can go ahead and go with another.
We can go with basically whoever the hell we want.
Absolutely.
But as you and I were talking just before the show, I had a concern, and you thought that my concern was not terribly valid, but it was frustrating to me that I even had to think about this, and that's this. We know that recently some Democrats did go over. I think they had two earlier last week that went over, and the last I heard is they may have had one more. That's 3. What if between now and Friday, not long, of course, but what if between now and Friday we have a contingent of Republicans that decide for whatever crazy-ass reason that Graham, McCain, Murkowski, the usual suspects, that for whatever reason they decide that they're not going to despoil the Senate and sully the Senate with doing this and going nuclear. We can't let the Senate devolve to something like this, and they decide that they're going to go over to the other side. What then?
So let's say Graham and McCain. Let's say Mitch McConnell holds one of those 3. Let's say Graham and McCain vote with the Democrats. That puts it at a 50-50 vote, correct?
I'm trying to think of the numbers.
52-48 right now?
I don't know. I'm just going to go with you and say yes.
52-48.
Okay.
So we'll use those numbers for the sake of argument. Let's say McCain and Graham go over it with the Democrats. Oh, we're not going to change the rules. You have a 50-50. Now Mike Pence comes in.
Well, yes, the VP has tiebreaker, just as he did about 3 weeks ago.
Yes, he did. So Mike Pence comes in, he breaks the tie, rules are changed.
But how sad is it, Clint, that I even have to think like this?
It's very sad.
That I, tactically speaking, I even have to think about a what-if situation, like, what if some of these Republicans go sideways? If there's one thing that I have to hand it to in the Democrats, they can coalesce when need be. GOP, not so much.
Well, can they? Because they've already had a few defectors that are going to vote with the Republicans.
Well, the problem with the Democrats is that, like they said, if Colonel Kurtz, Colonel Kuntz, I should say, in Apocalypse Now, played by Marlon Brando, they said of him, his methods are unsound. And it's true with the Democrats. Their methods are unsound. The DNC just came in with their new chair. Unfortunately, it wasn't Keith Ellison. I was hoping so much that it was going to be Keith Ellison. But now the DNC chair has fired all the staffers.
Yeah.
He's going to take all the resignation letters come April, I think, 12th, something like that, and he wants to start with an entirely new staff. And then came up and essentially said in the most recent meeting of the DNC, Trump is not president.
Yes.
And said it amongst a whole bunch of flurry of S words in the public for all to hear. That's just unhinged.
Yes.
That's just unhinged.
Donald Trump is not the president of the United States. Wait, what?
How do they think that that's going to serve them well? They coalesce, but they're fucking unhinged.
They are. And here's the thing. There's no we're coming together on this as Americans. They are pushing deeper division. Why?
Well, they're pushing harder left when, sort of a mid-course correction is called for.
Yes.
But I still say they're back at insane because they cannot.
Why? Look at this. Why are they pushing for deeper division?
Because they cannot understand, and they have yet to come to grasp with the fact that they were beaten on November 8th by a guy with a dead orange cat on his head. How the hell could that happen? We expected to be in power.
But what
in perpetuity.
Okay, so even under the entire Obama regime.
Gosh, I wish we had video and we could see our wild gesticulations.
I know. I don't testicular what?
I know.
We look at the Obama administration and how divided we became as a country. We became more divided, not less, under President Barack Obama.
He was the divider in chief.
And the trend of dividing and deepening that divide is continuing. Much like you've discussed. Why? What purpose does it serve to further divide our country?
Because I think this is an important lesson that I think is happening. I'm not convinced it's happening, but it could be. And I think this is what they're predicating their thoughts on. I think they think the entire country is moving more left. And so they have it on best information that their actions are only in accordance with what the bulk of the people in the United States really want.
I disagree. I think it's far more nefarious than that.
Okay, what's that?
I think that they've taken rules for radicals. They take Chairman Mao. They take the Communist Manifesto. I think they take all of those things to heart. And you look at some of the things they tried to accomplish at the DNC, like taking God out of their statement and all these things. And you remember that debacle and how that went for them. I think it's far more nefarious than that. I think that they understand that a majority of Americans are not far left, that they are either center left, or center right, and that the only way the far left can garner any kind of power and reshape America and the image that they want is through radical revolutionary means. And I say that because you look at what's coming out of the Bay Area and some of the riots, like not just the militant Black Lives Matter movement, like the meeting in Philadelphia where they said whites are not welcome.
Yes, and I documented that on the
Black
blog.
Lives Matter. You have the Antifa movement, which is actually a global phenomenon. And I think it's far more nefarious than that. The more you divide and you drive that hatred on your side, the quicker you're going to be to stand up and fight when you believe that your way of life is at stake. And I think that's what they're coalescing. They're coalescing the extremists in the party. They're not coalescing the Democrats as a whole. They're coalescing and they're mobilizing the extremists on their party for action.
Okay, all right.
And you look at all of the protests across the country, particularly recently, and how they're conducting themselves, along with the statements that they're making and what they're doing, and that's why I believe that.
So in a word, I think I can sum it up for you. If this is what I'm saying, if this is what you're saying, tell me if I'm right, tell me if I'm wrong. You're saying that they're falling back and they want to be the struggling underdog.
They want to be the struggling underdog, but they want to be viewed as the struggling underdog.
Yes, yes.
But I
viewed as.
But I believe
in the right.
I believe they are violent communist revolutionaries.
Yes.
Bent on taking the country over, bent on utilizing force to enforce their message, much as we've seen throughout history in communist regimes. That's what I believe they're about, folks. It's 10 o'clock.
It is. Yes, I know. We gotta go.
We gotta go. Great show.
Loved it.
Great discussion. BZ, tell them about our friends on the SHR Media Network.
Oh, you betcha. You betcha. Listen, thanks for Ken's consistent introduction of the Sackheads Radio Show and the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Ken McClinton is one stand-up guy, and it really helps when we transition from Ken to us. He helps get everybody here in chat. And again, thanks for being live. Thanks for being in chat.
And our shows, our friends, where can they find them?
Oh, right, on shrmedia.com.
Folks, listen up. We hate to cut it short for all of our shows. Listen in. It's been a pleasure having you. God bless, and good night, America.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative conservative talk with Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads. Sackheads.
Radio.
Sackheads. Sackheads.
Radio.
The best late night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.